There we go. But the video is not. So let's see if I can switch video. It's not recognizing the camera in the room. So if you don't mind, I'm just gonna turn my computer to everybody that's here. Is that all right with everyone? I'm just gonna. Because it's not even giving me the choice. I had to use a new computer because my computer's upstairs, so I'm using one that's not really set up. Mine's doing the upstairs meeting. You can call them. You can call them.
Okay, all right. Let's call the meeting to order. Um, I guess we don't have it. Is anybody online?
No, it's online anyway.
Okay, so no audience or citizens. Um, So our first item
Can I do
is,
the wall?
oh, roll. I'm sorry.
Thank
Oh, yeah.
Bill Sink,
Present.
John Bacon,
Here.
Kurt Watson,
Here.
John Forecast, Lorraine Stubb,
Here.
and Dan Pepperell, I believe is excused. Anjali Miller, asked to be excused, and Amy Crushing. You have a full quorum with regular numbers.
Okay, so the first item on the agenda is a public hearing for certificate of appropriateness, number HDC 2023-09, request of Alan M. and Lynn R. McGinnis to repair an existing front porch with bluestone at 1122 Worthington Bridge. So so I'll explain what the project is.
Yes, everybody but me. Yeah, I didn't get it either. I couldn't find it anywhere. in my email. I don't know whether I got blocked or. Minutes, but the minutes before the application. The house is 24 years old, 23, 24 years old. We've been there for a little over 20. And you can see it's a concrete slab that's in the front of the house. And water, I think it's gotten worse over time, but it's always been there that whenever we get a heavy rain, snow that packs up there and starts to melt, gravitates towards the house instead of away from the house. And it's, it's one of those projects that I was going to paint and I'm not going to paint. And after 20 years of hearing, can't you fix the water?
Get someone to fix
Said the drinking water. We had the masonry people come out and repair our chimney because the cap was starting to fall apart. And get bombarded in the back of the house. We sit on the deck and little pieces of drought and water come crashing down on it. So anyway, so Merrick Masonry, we hired them to do the chimney. And while they were out there, my wife said, take 2 minutes and come around the front. This is plagued us since we've been here. What would you do? And he said, what I would do is I would not paint it. You've got to, get the grade going away from the house to do that. So his proposal was to put like a picture frame type of thing on the surface of the slab. And they were like 2x6 bluestone. So make a frame and then different configurations of bluestone in the middle. And then he would taper it away, obviously, from the house. And then on the front of the house, or the front of the slab, there's like an overhang and then it comes down. And what he said was just, put something like this in the front of it. Bluestone, this on the front.
It would be bluestone or?
This is just, I don't know what this is. But the top would be blue.
Yeah.
The top would be bluestone, yeah. Yeah.
Not very historic or?
That was from the sand and gravel place up on the Berlin Turnpike. What's it called?
Cedar Mountain.
Cedar Mountain. Yeah.
It looks very contemporary, not very you know, on your house, it should look like stone. This looks very, not like stone.
You mean specifically this type of stone,
Yeah,
this size.
there's
Yeah.
no mortar joints on that or.
Is that just an example, or was that?
That was an
exactly what you were
example.
thinking about?
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I'm
We
just saying,
haven't picked anything out.
if you're gonna put a veneer on the front, it should look like a stone wall. It shouldn't look like handmade.
No.
For in the historic district. It should look 20th century or 21st century.
So sure, you're saying the approach, not either of, I don't know, if it's
Well-
synthetic or real, it's a thin veneer. You believe, your thoughts are that would be okay, but the exposed piece should look a little more vintage.
Yes. Or you could just put on a PVC white trim board, which would look appropriate for your house, your porch. Just a little trim board about 4 inches thick under the new flagstone. On the face.
is allowed?
If you use a land,
Yeah.
you only
Yeah.
old stone, which is a PVC.
Well, or wood, but I'm saying, you know, if you're, we would probably let you use PVC instead of wood. We're very fussy about using wood, but in this case, if it's gonna get wet, and you're concerned about it, rotting.
What he's trying to say is this, I mean, this is obviously stone, but the style of the stone cut is a little bit more, a little bit too long. And I'm sure they have other veneers,
Oh, I'm sure they would.
and they probably look a little bit more.
Yeah.
I hate to say field stone, because you don't want that, I'm guessing you don't want that rounded.
Yeah.
But more like a stone wall might be.
Yes, it should look like a stone
More like
wall and
a
not,
New England stone wall.
if not veneer. Stuck on.
Is that something you'd be amenable to? or is-
I'm thinking back to when we were there, if they even had that. If they even had something, there was nothing that were round stones. They had about
Well,
20
it wouldn't
different
have to be round
examples.
stone, but it should look, you know, there should be mortar joints in it. Look of a stone like wall.
So you want more mortar? I'm not
Well,
totally
it
understanding.
shouldn't look 20th century or 21st century. It should look like it was like the rest of your house.
So this is.
But we have
cement
a
and
temporary
stone.
tape.
Huh?
Like, this is cement, so this isn't.
Right,
colonial.
right, but we're talking about
Yeah.
something for historic district and it
Yeah.
shouldn't be just like that. You know, or a white trim board would be
Real stone.
Can we go back, because I'm not really understanding, like,
Yeah.
I know we were talking about how to solve the problem, so, because this is level with here, the water's rolling towards the house. But how do you get this again, so it's not, so it's at an angle or something?
You just put the mortar, just put more mortar here for the.
Right, so.
So they take off this molding,
Yeah, they have to take off that molding, you just lay mortar down in such a fashion that it's higher here than it is here.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah, because you probably wouldn't have to do much.
What? No, really, they're just enough cement to hold the stone
Yeah.
and pitch it appropriately. So
I've seen houses where they put white, board here, because this goes in. They would put some kind of stone veneer. But I understand what you're saying.
I think like we're thinking, because this is so ubiquitous now, like everybody's using veneer stone and.
I think Maureen was gonna bring
But it's
up,
nice to
you can
see
see
the
some of the
actual stuff.
selection she's got, which
Yeah.
is on screen.
some places I've seen this.
I don't know if any of these are what you guys are
Well,
talking
some of them,
about.
certainly, the one labeled Durham Natural may not be what you're interested, but that, even the one on the far left looks less contemporary.
This one,
What are those prices?
I
for
can't
when
get-
you're throwing like a.
I can't get
veneer on
over.
it?
So
Yeah,
that,
on the Cedar Mountain, they have, they say they have stone veneer, but unfortunately.
Natural stone.
so you're saying you want the
These
Kensington
are all
or the
walls.
Durham, that's what you
Well,
prefer? for our house.
I don't think, it's probably inappropriate for us to make specific brand recommendations, but as examples of
Like that?
something, yes, that would have more of a historic look rather than a 21st century.
See, I don't understand what a historic look is. As you drive up and down Worthington Ridge there, we see brick and in some
Brown
houses, we
stone.
see three different, which I love. You can see how the different additions were added, but there might be brick, there might be stone foundations.
The idea is that if you were to go into a historic district like ours or any vintage home, this type of stonework you would typically see from 100 years, 200 years ago is what you would want to model it after. Now, a lot of that would be real stone, of course. This is, but it's thin cut as a veneer.
And of course,
mortared in place,
that
but
depends on the structure. I mean, my house is built in 1720. We have some wonderful Victorians. So it would be appropriate for the period of the home. And your home was, while it's new, it was built and designed to look colonial. In keeping with that. So they would, the idea is to try and keep it looking colonial rather than colonial with a modern foundation, and, 20th century windows or something like that.
Somebody sees someplace I should stop or point to or something,
Unfortunately,
please
most
tell
of them
me.
are-
I don't
most of them
really,
are modern
Point
looking.
for me.
Well,
I don't
I mean,
really.
this-
Yes.
this is brick veneer.
I thought it would be easier to see it if it was
This-
on a
Yeah.
large surface.
Is that the same website?
I didn't know there's no, I guess, Google colonial stone veneer. And it takes it, and so
You got something better? Are they doing that? Should I?
I just typed in, I Googled colonial stone veneer.
Because when I did veneer, I got mostly walls. Like
Yeah, well, I
ones
said
that would go
colonial.
vertical, not to
Well,
walk on.
this was supposed to be the front, the rise.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm,
The Flintstones going on here, like, of bigger pieces, and are they kind of random, or is it?
No, it's here.
Oh,
There's a term.
Long,
No, it's a term for
I
that.
don't know what the dimensions were, what they were like, 6, 8 inches by 2 feet.
And the top is gonna be
Various
the
sizes
top.
of
And then,
eight slabs.
And then big pieces, kind of, they were kind of.
So it's kind of random,
Yeah, inside.
it's not like big slabs like on a sidewalk,
Okay.
no.
no, the same material as our
Is-
sidewalks.
that one?
Yeah.
That's a nice
Well,
tie-in.
Is that what you're talking? Something like,
No, he's talking about like on the surface here,
Yeah.
but like, what do you put?
Google, type in under your search. Yeah, oh, you got it, colonial stone veneer. And that, then there's, if you scroll up and down, there's, I mean, on the left, there's one that looks like, they call it cobblestone, almost looks
It's
like.
even got the word
dry set.
colonial in it. The
they
two on the
are,
left.
most of them do.
I mean, some of them do look appropriate, some of them don't, but.
Something,
I mean,
what,
it's not
how about like
big
that? Is that what you're talking
walls,
about?
like,
No.
You know, like
Yeah.
this.
I'm,
And the, the visibility from the street is restricted.
You
I
can't
mean,
see
that's the
the,
other thing, like driving
So-
by, you don't really see.
here, oh, wait a minute, I had the house a second ago, it's just
Well,
gonna show
that's-
it to you
but-
again.
the sidewalk
I
is
know.
10 feet higher than the street level.
I know, the sidewalk.
But
is where you
still,
see it.
It's up
You have
here.
to be 8 feet tall to see the surface of the porch.
By the way,
Yeah,
it's
that
gorgeous,
was
gorgeous.
You almost have to be that tall to see the, rise.
As
Oh,
well.
no, you can see it from the sidewalk, very close.
Elevation.
The front,
When you look at, plans and you're looking at like the vertical part, it's called the elevation.
The street view is very deceptive because the sidewalk is 10 feet higher.
Yeah,
Can't really get
That's not our
that.
sign.
I don't know if that was a political statement or not.
That sign
No,
was
but I
put
do-
up by the man who built our house.
Oh, but I do like what you did with the
It was
pumpkins at
behind.
the time.
Listen, I'd be out cutting the yard, people would throw stuff at me, yell out. Mike Lucic,
Yeah, that's
he
what I
lives
thought.
up in the back.
Yeah.
In all honesty, I think regardless of the political sign you put out today, someone will throw something.
Yes, you're
Never
right.
fails.
You're right. Okay, let's focus on the stone.
Yeah,
Um,
so as a general statement, without directing it to a specific style and brand, is that something you'd be amenable to?
Oh, yeah, that's
Going with something that has the word colonial in the description, so at least it's
No problem.
great.
I think what they're saying, this looks too modern.
It's a-
Good start, maybe not a good
Yeah,
end.
yeah, it's a first, good first step.
It's fine, but
And,
Lynn, just one other thought. I don't know what the structure of the post out front, but if you build a stone around the existing post, and they're wood,
yeah,
you're gonna be asking to get water in there, because it's gonna form a small pan below the level of your finished surface.
If you've got a good mason, though, you flash it.
Yes.
you said he'd have to take off these little decorative bottom post things.
The molding.
Yeah, the molding, have to take those off. Then I guess the molding would go back on after.
Yeah, and
Cut them.
if he's worth his salt, what he'll do is when he puts those moldings on, he'll put the flashing behind it that comes down and out a little bit so that you don't get any water intrusion underneath. And properly caulked, and it should be fine.
Yeah, that's beyond our scope, but it's just a thought process. You should be sure that's dealt with properly, or you're gonna trade one water problem
Yeah.
for another water problem.
I don't want that.
You know, I mean, it is, if there is a trench of sorts around the post, it's below the level, so it's gonna naturally puddle a small amount of water. They run over time. I presume that's a wooden post, right? Yeah, so over time, no matter.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with the veneers, if you guys are okay with the PVC along this front frame.
Instead of the veneer.
Yeah,
Well, see, this is an overhang.
Yes.
yeah.
So what he actually said was, and I cringed when he said it because I know the price tag is gonna go up. He was talking about the veneer, he was talking about putting cement in the front here to make this all one level.
Make it flat.
I don't think that's necessary.
And I thought, oh man, that's gonna cost me a fortune. So I'd rather put white here along here and then whatever colonial veneer underneath.
PVC is generally refillable, but they do make other materials, you know, exactly swarm.
Or cedar, you know, if you want to use a board.
It's tough when you get that close. to the ground. Most of the building.
There was
codes want
some
something that's
PVC,
impervious or-
I know we said fences, that was not gonna work.
Well, we're talking about vinyl fences.
PVC vinyl.
Yeah.
AZEC and
My
Hardy Plank.
Just don't want
experience
to.
anytime.
So please don't take offense.
The problem,
We want to be careful.
PVC vinyl, you walk up to it, it looks-
Yeah.
So,
I think like back when
If you're gonna be doing a nice
these houses were
stone,
being built like
patio
20
porch
some
with
odd years
stone.
ago.
great.
This is 20,
Yeah,
you don't
20
want plastic.
years ago.
Hmm.
But those
It's-
materials
it's
are not
walk up full of
available.
Plastic and then nice.
There's vinyl and
You'll make,
PVC, but now they
You use
use
them to
ones
make
that
the
really
plastic.
look more like boards.
you know.
And this, isn't that what's around the window? You're not gonna really notice much. Isn't that what's around the windows?
So in my experience, when samples have been brought in that replicated the posters, then the commission has been
Yeah, it's
more
wood on the outside.
forgiving of artificial materials.
PVC.
I was only
But
asking
not,
this, just
you know,
that was-
I wouldn't say it's across the board that that's happened in my, you know, and I haven't been that long, but it's been, it's an example that, a sample that fits the bill. To be perfectly honest, it's.
Any other questions?
Question. Unrelated to my house. What's the story with the old Berlin town hall?
Come on, we get one of those every
We discuss that every meeting.
Every time my wife and I walk up the ridge, it's like, we look at the houses and say, this one's falling apart, this one's gonna fall. And town hall, nobody's ever looked at it in the 20 years we've been there.
It's privately owned, so the town has some, limited, ability to compel upgrades, let's put it that way. So we're working on the matters that we can do have purview over. And we've also been working with the applicant on a very arduously, not the applicant, I'm sorry, the owner, to try to pair them, the commissioners are try to pair them with some resources that may assist them. It's a non-conforming use. The municipal use would have been the use the building had. It's no longer a municipal use. So it's not a home. It's not an office. It's not, it's not a lot of things as far as they're using it. And they've used it for storage for many years. So it's like owned in their ownership that we can't compel them to. It's very difficult
Maureen's
to
point.
compel them to use it in an appropriate manner.
Yeah.
However,
We-
building inspector, the zoning officer, and this, most importantly, this commission, because they have more of the influence than the, regulation. If the front door is not broken, the building official can't do something, if certain things aren't broken.
Yeah.
There's been some cleanup around the property. Our zoning officer continues to work on the overgrowth, but the unsightly materials, we've been working on it slowly. So
Wife and I
that's
live
where we're
across the
at.
street, across the street, the gray house. The large one.
It's arduous.
Oh,
And we see it every day. but we're
Sad.
Not happy with it.
Yes, in the day, it's the town sold off properties like that. rather than- we just sold it for that. That's about historic. Yeah.
That's a
And
shame.
It's a shame because
Yeah.
there's quite the history, got quite the education of it. All those- Town hall.
Yeah, this was a community hall built by the Brandy family.
Really?
There was dancing there, there was a theater, there was roller skating, I think,
Roller skating basement.
harvest festival.
It's,
It has
it's,
some interesting nooks and crannies, you guys said too, right?
Yeah.
Underneath,
Yeah, it does.
underground.
And trust me, we've been into this before. And it's always bothered me a little bit because it's a, not just historic structure, but it's historically significant to the history of the town.
Right.
And it says town hall.
Yeah.
You almost wish someone would go up there and scrape off where it says town hall, because it's kind of embarrassing to, I would think as a town, it's embarrassing.
Yeah.
Because if you're just passing through, you're like. Yeah, it's, we do what we can, and if we sadly not act.
it's on the town blight list, but it's not going well. Our committee is interested, not so much in the brush around it, but we're interested in saving the building. And so far, the squeeze hasn't been that strong on the owner. There could be penalties on ceiling, the roof is collapsing in the back. Wood is being
That's a
torn
big
off,
addition.
but that's still a blight list violation.
Windows and
And the windows are broken, that's a blight list violation.
soffit is deteriorating to the point where it's open to the.
There hasn't been full enforcement yet.
So you can also understand that nobody wants to be heavy-handed here.
No.
It's a tough one.
Well,
That's just a
I
shame.
think what we'd like to have happen is that the owner would sell it to somebody that would take care of it, we bring it back. But there aren't many, the building is about 9,000 square feet, it's huge. And finding a use that fits the zoning, is a problem. I mean, it could be a church,
Or
it could be
finding
a hospital, but there aren't too many uses of a building that big.
Yeah, which is amazing.
We've talked about it.
Okay, we should get back to.
Yeah, sorry.
So you're actually still in public hearing for this item.
Yeah.
So somebody
Okay.
has to, if you're done in the discussion.
I'm just trying to think of it quick, it seems like there's options here, so. How do we clarify this, so. What's gonna happen?
Does the trim board on the face sound like a good idea?
Yes, it is.
Well, let's go with that.
Oh, you mean, both
Like
upper and
here?
lower?
You know, a trim board like the skirt board you have at the bottom of your clapboards,
Yeah.
just put one of those underneath the edge of the overhanging edge of the flagstone.
Elevation.
Truthfully,
Board on the
Yeah.
if you use PVC or some of the composite products that are out there,
Vertical face.
it's so stable that you could simply lay it over this upper portion that overhangs.
Yep.
And drop it down below there. You don't, it's back, it's not like, if it was wood unsupported over time, it's going to
Oh, I
move.
see what you mean.
It's just won't move it.
Well, you
It's
have
just
to
be a
fasten
small
it.
hollow area in the bottom couple of inches.
Well, you have to fasten it to the concrete.
But you have this 6 inch.
Oh, because it's
Yeah,
inside.
section where you fasten it.
Right, you fasten it to that.
Right.
It wouldn't have to go down to the ground, it would be.
Right next to the light.
Just above the ground. Yeah.
Yeah, amen to that.
We just
Probably better.
assumed that it wouldn't be allowed. Well, it depends on where it is, you know, and this is not glaringly visible.
Yeah.
It's, you have to get up from the sidewalk, up on our lawn to actually see this.
Yeah, that would work.
Okay.
Thank you.
Could we simply footnote that that was a verbal agreement in the
Well,
minutes?
when
Well, you
we
can
do a
approve.
motion to, you know, we could word it.
As a condition
right.
of the, of approval of the
Yeah.
application.
Yeah.
Does that sound right, Marie? Would that work?
And it sounds like
You
you
s-
two would be okay with
And
that.
you're fine with that and not the option of stone, or do you want to leave that stone option if they went with one of the colonial
Oh,
stones?
we almost have to nail down what exactly the stone would be.
I know,
You'd
that's
have
what
to
I'm
know.
afraid of,
Okay,
because
so-
then it,
So then it would be
We have
return
something.
if you did, if you
Yeah.
found a stone. You know, you go back to the stone guy and he goes, "Ah, this is what you should get.
Yeah,
This is,
change
yeah.
their
Then
then come back.
then you come back. and
Because
show-
I'm sure like if you go to pick up the stone, you'd be like, I wonder if they'd like that or something.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
Okay.
exactly what I. Yeah, and I think in some ways, if you're mixing like the bluestone here and that, it might look
I know the brick-
kind of cluttered. Well, no, I mean,
With
like
the
what you
stone.
had, it looked kind of cluttered to me, different styles.
Oh, I see, yeah,
You know,
yeah, right,
I like keep it simple.
yeah,
Okay.
I'm good with that.
I bet you didn't realize this committee had a decorating idea
Oh,
as well, different roles.
Oh, yeah, don't invite us in, because we'll start thinking, oh, you know, this is really great here, what you
You're all
should do with this.
guys.
I know, it's so weird, but it's really works.
This commission used to be mostly women. Anyhow, should we close?
I'll make the motion to close the public hearing.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so any discussion or think somebody's ready to make a motion?
I make a motion to approve application HTC 2023-09, subject to the following conditions that, maybe someone can articulate it better than I. No, just what are the conditions?
That we use a trim board under the new, as a face board or
The
skirt
elevation.
board under the new flagstone on the face.
And it can be PVC
Or
composite.
PVC.
or,
PVC or
Composite.
composite, yeah.
yeah, because I'm thinking like on some decks, it's just like a very thin thing. It's adhere,
Well-
we're talking more like a board.
Yes, it
We're
would,
talking about
their
trim board.
size to
Trim board.
match standard board
Right.
sizes.
Yeah.
So something like a 1x10, which would be 3/4 by 9 1/4.
Or
Yeah,
we're not even
1.6
really
or
specify the
something.
size, but.
No, but I'm for Lorraine, for your
Yeah, but
benefit, that's what we were talking about. Yeah, 3/4 inch board.
As opposed, because, you know, I know on some decks, like people just wrap it and I don't know if it's something.
Well, I think if
It
you
would
gotta
be
fasten
like-
it to the concrete, you'll
Yeah.
want something.
It would be like a strip board on the house.
Yeah.
Would just be. it
Or
would
the
be,
ones around the
would serve
post.
the same purpose.
Okay.
Sounds like a plan.
Do we have like a,
Second.
oh, okay,
I'll second the motion.
okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Unrelated question.
Not another.
Oh, no.
You already won, so it's okay.
We're not gonna be there that much longer, so.
Oh, come on. Are you gonna move?
No.
Yeah. I can't take care of this house, I'm getting old. Roof is gonna have to be redone at some point, like within the next,
It's 25 years old.
it's 25 years old, so they're 30-year shingles, so at some point within the next 5 years, it's gonna have to be done.
Mhm.
Does that come before the committee?
Probably.
If I do light with light?
If it's like for like, is it asphalt shingle right now?
It's, yes, it's asphalt shingle.
So like for like asphalt or architectural shingles,
We used to
Are-
make people come in, but
are-
it seemed
could be
ridiculous
replaced for-
because it's really like for like.
that's, if it's like for like, it's fine.
Just
If
like
you,
You don't need to
Yeah.
come before the committee.
right, you do have
Specific
to, when you
roofing,
get
that
the
said as long
building
as it's like
permit,
the
You gotta get a building.
they
Yeah.
then route it
Yeah.
to my department and we
So she's explaining.
check the like for likeness, and if I have any questions, I send an email out to the chair and we send it, and then we'll schedule it if necessary, but there's very few instances that roofs have come in
Is the
unless
color
you're
slightly
changing the
different?
We don't care
materials.
about the color.
Color can't be
We can't-
regulated.
We can't dictate.
Please
who-
don't. That's a personal note.
We could
Not a
strongly
committee
say
thing.
yes. Dictate-
Color
no,
is a
that's
thing.
insane.
Sadly, no.
Really?
Unfortunately, it hasn't come up, you know. we
Yeah,
don't have
nobody's
any
abused.
Pop
Yeah,
picture
we-
sky.
Not yet.
We did have somebody once wanted to do the dental molding and like a red or something, and we said, that's really not appropriate and
yeah.
everything, and he valued our opinion,
Yeah.
so he said, oh, okay, I'll just do it.
Yeah, I
red."
remember that, because he's asking us, I want to make it pop a little bit. I said, well, if you do just slightly different shades of white, it'll still make it more obvious the dental molding, but if you do the,
Yeah,
not even in a Victorian is that the color.
It'll
scheme.
look like a bloody mouth.
Oh, my God.
And great Halloween.
okay.
All right, thank you all.
Thank you, so
Thank
Good
you.
suggestions.
Maureen, I'll get the.
Yeah, so then, yeah, contact our office next week. I'm being the secretary for the commission right now, so I'm not even sure I
But
have.
He doesn't
the-
need a building permit for that, does he?
No, so you're really good to go, but we do have a certificate template that I'm not sure I actually have in my computer. So I need to get it and write it up.
And you're
But-
you're in planning and zoning?
Planning and zoning, I'm the town planner.
Now, does it make any difference if it's needs to be done in the spring? Like,
No,
is there a time
That's
deadline?
fine. A year is best, but I believe you got rid of the timeline in the 2016
You did?
thing. I believe the regulations, there were a couple of modifications to the regulations a number of years ago, so we'll check, but it's minimum a year. But as you approach a year, come back and talk to me. And they might
If
need
it's
to
not
grant
done
an
in a year, it's not
extension.
done.
They might need to grant an
If you get-
extension.
If you
But
get
it is
into
1
it
year.
and all of a sudden you change your mind and say, well, I don't want this or that or something, then, check with Maureen.
I'm sorry, I don't have any of my cards, but it's the office you brought the application to. Yeah,
Yeah.
you talked to Polly the other day when you were in, somebody was in.
Okay, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank
Very
you
good
so
one.
much.
Good luck.
You save us money. Is this yours?
No, I'm good.
Have a good evening.
You also.
Night.
Good night.
Okay.
With the
Other
minutes,
business?
are those fine?
Oh, the minutes. Has everybody reviewed the minutes from last time? It's pretty simple.
Short and sweet.
Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for for the,
Yeah, October
second.
it was October 2nd, 2023, regular meeting.
Mhm.
A second,
I'll second.
all those approved?
Aye.
Okay. Is there anything else we want to discuss?
So I did just want to point out, I do have another roof. This one's a repair on Evans House at 1233 Worthington Ridge. It is like for like, they had damage, storm damage and some insurance payment, but it came in today, so I said, you know what, I'm gonna tell you guys about it instead of do it simply administratively, but now you know that that will be happening as well.
I have it's a specific question, and I'll follow whatever process is appropriate, but we have a set of stairs, but we have a brick walk that runs from the house down to the original slate sidewalk, and that's about 6 or 8 feet in from the road. And then on the other side of that slate sidewalk is a set of 3 stairs. And originally they were, it looks like brick and bluestone, and at some point in the past, somebody had parged over them with concrete, and now they're badly deteriorating. Looking at the brick underneath, it looks like it's badly deteriorating. I did have a conversation with the town, with the highway department, and their recommendation, again, without respect to this committee or anything else, is those stairs dump right into the road. It's a safety. You should put either colored ribbon up around them so nobody ever uses them. Because you literally, the bottom step is right at the curb. I suspect Worthington Ridge was a narrower road at one point in time, and there was at least maybe room for a pedestrian walkway. But anyway, if you can picture this, literally, you come off the step,
Yeah,
and you're
yeah,
on
I've seen
the
some of
road.
those.
Yeah,
There may be
I,
others on Worthington Ridge. But
my wife and I
would
would
that be
like.
the town's responsibility?
Well, I wasn't sure because there's that uncertainty, the town has some control over the first few feet between the sidewalk and the road. And they said that there's a stump that's gonna get removed right adjacent to those stairs. And I talked to John, and I'm afraid I can't think of his name, highway department. But at any rate, he said, if my wife and I were to go forward with that.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Yes. Yeah, there's those stairs between the
Okay.
sidewalk.
I
So-
think that's a remnant of back in the day before you had driveways, so you wanted to walk down to your car, carriage, whatever. Yeah.
That could
And
very
you-
well be, yeah.
But you didn't want to walk through the dirt,
Thank you,
mud, or the
Maureen.
snow,
Yeah.
so
Or you
they
catch the
had.
trolley.
Yeah,
So-
catch the trolley.
It puts
You
me
can
off
see-
the
Now,
street.
if you do that, you walk up your driveway.
I will be rebuilding these to
Well, that'd
a
be
perfect
nice.
match of what was there. We think that's a great feature.
Yeah.
This, I'm concerned about safety. In addition to that, somebody ruined the character of them a long time ago by
Yeah.
putting concrete over the whole thing.
Oh, no.
So what the town said they would be willing to do preliminarily is if we coordinated the timing, they're gonna be removing this stump.
It may be one of those trees, most of these photos are. on.
Yes,
Yeah,
this tree
these
is
are-
gone. This
this
tree is
is,
now gone, and the stump from this tree.
This is a 2020 picture.
Yeah, so they're gonna be removing it probably sometime next spring, and they will backfill. And they said if I were to coordinate, when they regrade after removal of the stump, they'd be willing to just regrade right across
Yeah.
where the
And
stairs.
I-
Are they willing to dig up the?
I don't know. I may ask that question, but I'm prepared to hire somebody.
Will you
to
need
do
a
that.
COA for that
And
removal?
truthfully, if some of the material in there, if there's bluestone in there that's salvageable, I will probably keep that.
See, I don't think that's even his property.
that should be.
Because the town always owns, is it 10 feet in or something?
Well, the
They
thing
own it. I
about-
think they
the thing
have a
about-
Right of way and some
Yeah,
control
and
over. it.
typically,
I
So-
don't think they actually
that-
own it.
the
So-
homeowner's responsibility is to maintain it, even though they may not own it.
That's
But if
everything
the
from-
town wants it out, it would otherwise be the town needing to
Well, I mean-
probably get approval. out.
Wait,
Does it have
I'll-
any say
I'll-
about the tree
I'll
coming down?
deal with that, but the bottom line for this committee is, would something like that be a
Requires
violation?
COA.
Would I need to have follow the formal process for approval? I know I wouldn't be a voting member in a case like that, but
Let me look at the regulations, and where the property line is. So on a street like Worthington Ridge, it's hard to say where the property line is. Typically, it's behind the sidewalk. You know, the house side of the sidewalk is where the property line actually is, rather than the curb. But we have a lot of very old roads, so
Yeah.
some of them, the road does go right up to the edge of right of way. And to the property line, and there might be an easement where the sidewalks are. Or in other places, that's not the case. So we just wanna check
So,
where it is, but I do suspect
clearly-
because of the sidewalk, it is probably within the town's right of way.
But not necessarily owned by the town.
Correct.
Yeah, no, the right of way,
So-
if, well, the whole street width, I mean, the whole street width, I'm thinking it probably is owned by the town, but I just don't know
But
Worthington
they
Ridge well
maintain-
enough.
If the
They
town's
maintain the
trading-
sidewalk too.
So
The
question
homeowner is, that's an ordinance where the homeowners maintain what's in front of their house.
Not the
You,
sidewalk.
you
'cause the
shovel
town-
your sidewalk, you,
But the-
if they
but the
replace the
town-
entire sidewalks,
The
the
town
town
redid
does,
sidewalks.
but
Yes, but it typically,
as a project.
Berlin does, and I know other towns have ordinances which require the property owner to maintain their sidewalks. However, if somebody's injured on the sidewalk, it's the town's liability. So it doesn't shift the ownership. The only time that you're liable is if you don't shovel your sidewalks, then that's on you. But you probably own the sidewalks, but you technically under ordinance have a duty to maintain it, but ultimately it's the town's responsibility. So that's why the town will invest in sidewalk repair because they do have personal injury liability.
Hmm.
Believe it or not.
So I
You
would
So
can't-
say
here's the next
probably 6
Well,
or 8
it's not
years
sick.
ago, they redid the sidewalks. And what I've been told from our neighbor, Steve Towns, is that his whole sidewalk was replaced with concrete.
The town did.
And yeah,
Oh,
he
yeah,
said
yeah,
there was some stone there, but then bits and pieces had been concreted and they tore up the whole thing. But they did preserve, and Tony Strain on the other side of our property has the same original slate bluestone there as well.
So,
And they did pull that up, regraded it and reset it. And of
Oh, yeah,
course,
they
the
were
stone's
fine.
not the same
You
thickness,
have
so.
bluestone, I think.
I don't
around
have a
your
sidewalk.
No, around your pool or something, because the
Yes.
Wisemans took it.
Big pavers, it's been, like, we had to repair a line to the pool and that was. A Couple guys came up, I don't wanna deal, because they would have had to lift the stones, move them.
Yeah, that was
replace
sidewalk for
it.
Worthington Ridge.
But originally this came from saying, if that property, if the town owns the property between the road and sidewalk, those aren't your stairs anymore. Do you have a right to destroy the stairs? Is that destruction of public property? Is it the town's responsibility to, I mean, they'd probably be one of these things like the town says, well, if you wanna rip them out, we'll regrade, and everyone's gonna be happy.
John
But in
Messia-
theory, at
John
least,
Messia, is that
they're not your stairs to do anything with.
John Messia, Highway Department, is that something?
I don't know all the highway.
I didn't
guys,
bring the notes with
But
me.
certainly
Yeah,
stop by.
so I will have
stop
to make
by
sure to
our
square all
office
that away.
Yeah.
And Public Works, and we will figure it
Yeah,
out.
we have all the-
Jim, Mike, and I
from
together,
on
and
the
with
pool
the highway guys, we'll figure it out, but Public Works
And those
is
are made out of granite.
next to my office, we'll figure it
Okay.
out
They-
with
some-
you.
I-
If you come in and
told
remind
them.
us, we'll,
And they stack
we'll
them.
work
So-
through this,
Future reference.
and we'll
Right
look at
for
the regulations
stairs.
to
It's the right
see
depth, right height,
what,
but we only know.
the
it's
purview
one of
is of the
leading
commission.
edge is yellow
So-
painted, like you might paint the
Hang on just a second, Maureen.
Mhm.
I got the impression he's talking, I think it was John Messia. I got the impression he's already doing, he was maybe gonna do this as, I don't know that I want it published, that he's gonna be regrading our
This
property.
is a
So,
Zoom meeting,
what's that?
this is a Zoom meeting.
So it's
People
recorded.
can,
Yes,
So,
no, I understand, they can go back and look. So I will say clearly, it was a conversation with a lot of details left out. And I don't want you, Maureen, going back and say, well, the High Department says they will do this. I'm
Oh,
saying we had a telephone
no, it's
conversation.
more about who has the right
Yes,
to
yeah,
take.
That would be
the-
first and
to-
foremost, we'd have to square that
to-
away.
To get rid of the stairs, or
Yep.
to leave or
And-
repair or remove. Well,
Like, so
it's
don't-
more a matter of purview. Who
Unless
has
you
the
get in trouble
purview
for
that I'm
destruction of
concerned
public
with?
property.
No, that's a good point, thank you, I don't
I
want to
just
get in trouble
think
for that either, yeah. So it was, the conversation started out as, when is this tree gonna get stumped? The tree that's no longer there, And it kind of went in that direction, but a lot of things were left up in the
And
air.
if the tree
My
gets
real
stumped,
question here is that
chances are that's
Would
part of the
removing
stairs
it,
problem.
regardless of whether it's town property or my property, would removing it,
I would think probably the
require
most
a
convenient thing to
approval.
happen is if they were ripping up the stump and roots from the stump dislodged some of the stairs, and then they decided that, well, because of this damage to the stairs, we need to remove the stairs for public safety.
I'm sure there's,
I'm just saying, you know,
but I'm not trying to make
Sometimes-
that decision here or even
no,
strategize
that's
that out.
up to public works.
Just to give you some background about the sidewalks, because I'm trying to, this is maybe 10 years ago.
I remember.
Because they asked us to help them identify places that might need to be replaced, and we were advocating keep the bluestone. And plus in front of the Prentice House, brick house, it was all herringbone brick sidewalk, which I think Mr. Prentice had laid because it matches what goes up to the house, and we wanted that done. But ultimately, they did whatever they wanted. But they did replace some of the bluestone that was too small to reuse because it was broken up. They got a lot from some town, I can't think what it was, that was tearing up all their bluestone in their historic area.
And in some
So
places that you can
that
see,
was
they put
nice.
a good amount of effort into it.
But they did
where
do a lot of
They had to
cement.
actually, but in other places, you could see where the bluestone was jutting out over a slope, so they actually cut the bluestone and then replaced it to match the existing slope, and so you can see, it's a weird dichotomy, in some places it looked like they put in a lot of extra effort to do a good job, and in other places they just, concrete.
Well, I will tell you, we have some bluestone, large pieces of bluestone, 200 pounders probably. I mean, I had to use lifting assist in order to actually get it up and move it. And putting that down is not easy because the thickness is very, even within one slab, the thickness. So you can't, normally when you're putting a patio in,
Yeah.
you start with the appropriate different submaterials and
Mhm.
then you lay it perfectly level.
No,
And maybe make minor,
The way they
with
do
this,
this-
you cannot do
no,
that.
in fact, we inquired into that, because we wanted to do a patio behind the house, and the first thought was, we'll do bluestone like surround around the pool, which must have been quite the effort. And we talked to guys, well, the expenses of the bluestone is actually fairly affordable. Problem is, only the top surface is flat, and the bottom surface, as you mentioned, is very rough, so what they end up doing is they get the substrate, right, like they would for regular pavers. But then they set the stone, lift it up, move sand around to get it, then set the stone again, and they do this several times till they get the stone right,
That's the approach that I
And then
use
they
out
move-
back.
and then they move to the next stone, and he said, so the
And then you come
labor
back a year
cost.
later and adjust it one more time.
Yeah, he said, so the labor cost is quite high, because we have
Yeah.
some, we have some. screws.
They do sell a recent wire cut. Bluestone too, that is perfectly
just
flat on
a
both
little
sides, but it doesn't have the same look.
What was happening on the ridge is because there's all these old trees and the roots were
Oh, I know,
up
I've
and
walked
like they
many
break
times.
and whatnot, but, you know, it occurred to me when we're talking about, they've been taking down a lot of trees. And this commission used to have a tree committee. And I don't know how people feel about that. about-
Probably got that straightened out a couple of years ago with when they were taking down trees.
Yeah.
So,
But there's
I
never
wasn't
been
aware
a
new
discussion
trees
about
aren't coming.
replacing them with,
trees have recently come down?
well, over the last few years.
Yeah, I was gonna say a few years ago, I know they took some down in that. We looked into, and I can't remember the
was
outcome of
probably
it, but I
It
remember
was probably
going to Public
pre-COVID
Works and,
that I
yeah.
remember
Yeah,
some
so I
coming
don't,
down.
I think Public Works created a policy themselves to make sure they talk to our department
Because
or that
Worthington
there's
Ridge is-
communication.
And the old
trees.
pictures, it had trees that was like a tunnel. It was
Oh, I love that look.
kind of before my time, but I see the old pictures and
A lot of it
Nice.
is, I will say, is very difficult with the overhead wires.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Because
true.
the utility company says,
And remember,
We
after
have-
that, after
We
that
have
big storm
purview.
A few years ago.
and they have purview
There
over
was-
quite a bit of that.
Oh, that big storm a few years ago, there was a big push that, we need to do something to protect the infrastructure. Because everyone was without power for so long, very, mostly because trees came down on the wires, and and there was a fatality on the Merritt Parkway, and they said we need
I
to do
remember
something.
that.
And then, so what they did was they went and just chopped down a ton of trees, and then everyone was complaining, wait, you're cutting down all our trees. I'm like, well, you told us to cut down the trees, and there was argument back and forth, you know, I mean, there are parts of Mirror Parkway that literally were laid waste. I mean, they clear cut.
Well, some people have mentioned this
That was
too,
a
about like,
design
would you,
parkway.
I've said like, how would you
Yeah.
feel
Trees.
about planting trees? And it's, no, I don't want trees because I have to deal with the leaves. So, I don't know. But there are like smaller flowering trees or something that would be pretty.
Yeah.
And there's grants, you know, to get, to flesh out.
Follow up on it.
Yeah, we lost a lot of trees.
Should I tell you or something?
Remind me.
And then over the years.
I'm
yeah,
overwhelmed. Please remind me.
They hired
Too many hats.
Too many.
Well,
the people who owned our place, not the ones.
How long?
Original
In a week?
owners, I think they had
Wilcox.
Wilcox.
Or
They
anything.
must have hired a landscape architect.
Or
Like the backyard was landscape architect.
And you talk to whoever.
Trees and the cherries and cherries and pear down the oak trees and native locust trees, and it was obviously well done and sad. And lost almost all ornamental trees because they didn't release them. We had a tree, I didn't know what it was until we hired a guy who used to be an arborist. Right next to the driveway was an umbrella pine. Really thick, almost like succulent type needles. And he looked at it, he was that, it's a very valuable tree.
That's a
Thousands
correct,
and
right?
thousands of dollars if you let someone come here and pick that tree up.
I'm
Well,
sorry,
thank you very much.
You probably want to get your.
Maureen, yeah, Maureen and I have
Yeah.
to look.
Yeah.
And I just looked at that clock and I went, but it didn't
no.
fall back.
Oh, no, no way.
I got
Yes,
very,
we
I
can
got
go
very
on with it.
startled, I'm sorry.
All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
A second,
Someone would be second.
second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Sure, I thought this would be like a.
That's what everyone says.
Yeah. Guilty.
Thank you, and I'm sorry for the needing to have